Welcome back to DBI Unfiltered and Unbothered. I'm your host, Chrislyn Williams, a high school student, a policy fellow with DBI. This week, I interviewed Ms. Dominque Jones-Johnson, the founder and executive director of Daughters Beyond Incarceration. She started this organization 8 years ago, not because it was a dream she planned out, but because her own life demanded it. Her father has been serving a lifetime sentence for 43 years. She turns that pain into something that supports girls like me. She built DBI from nothing, piling girls into her car, meeting in library rooms that were too public to be vulnerable, spending her own money on food and snacks, into a full after school program with its own building, its own transportation, and 80 plus girls who call it home. I have known Ms. Dominique for about 6 months. I thought I knew her story. This conversation proved me wrong. She inspires me every day. Hi, my name is Chrislyn Williams, and on today, DBI Unfiltered and Unbothered, we have Ms. Dominque Johnson, who is here to talk about the real conversations, real impact, and real freedom. How are you feeling today, Ms. Dominique?
I'm good, Chris. How are you?
I'm doing good. You ready to start this conversation?
I am. Let's get into it.
Okay, so you are the founder of DBI, and you have been working on this organization and building this organization for the past 8 years. And I just want to take it back to the first couple of months, the first couple of days. Like, how did it start? What inspired you? What inspired you to keep going for these past 8 years?
My own personal lived experience inspired me. My father is on his 43rd year of a life sentence, and there was a period in his sentence where we didn't talk. So specifically, from the year 2000 to I want to say maybe 2007, and our communication just completely stopped. During that time, he took some some parenting classes in Angola. He did a lot of rehabilitation on his mental and how he needed to shift from being a parent with a baby to being a parent with an adult. And that transition helped us, it kind of catapulted our relationship into a different dynamic where we understood the capacity of how a father's mindset versus a daughter's mindset has to shift or has to change in order for the relationship to improve.
Okay, so you say it was a period of time where y'all had no communication. When y'all did start talking, or I would like to ask, how did the conversation go when you first told him about DBI?
So let's take it back further than that. So around 2007, we had a conversation and I said, "Hey, daddy, you have a grandson. His name is Kingston. I want you to meet him." And Kingston was about maybe 8 or 9 months. And so we went on a visit to visit my dad. And that's kind of where we started to rebuild our relationship because it was a process before we got to 2018 to where DBI is here. And so from 2007 up until 2018, I really just struggled through life trying to figure out what my career was going to be and where I wanted to retire from and what it looked like for me to retire. And during that time, I was a paralegal, and I think I was also doing some executive assistant work for the public defenders. But then I started volunteering with an organization where I met two beautiful young ladies, Rain and Regent LaCour, whose father, Sean LaCour, was incarcerated in the same prison where my dad was. We worked together for about a year and a half, and that organization held like this big old event at the end of the year, and they raised like $5 million and they gave me a $50 gift card. And I told my daddy, and we both was like, "This bullshit. I could do this on my own." And that's exactly what we did. So we worked day in, day out, emailing each other stuff, sending documents back and forward to each other on how we think the program should run. And a lot of people may not know this, but DBI didn't start its actual full-time after-school program until 2023. And so prior to that, we were just meeting once a month in a library, and it was ugh, I hated that. Yes, it was chaos. But we didn't start our full after-school program until 2023.
So before 2023, like you say, y'all were just meeting in the library and once a month. Like, how was that? How did that even start?
Oh my god, it was so hectic. It was me and a co-founder that I had. She kinda helped develop the organization, I'm sorry. And we would just be piling girls in our cause. Piling girls in our cause, using our own personal money to buy food and snacks, and just meeting in the library and just talking about what incarceration does to us. And oh my god, the libraries, they can only do so much because they're a city public funded organization, and even though you can reserve a room in the library, it still limits you because you just don't have the privacy that you need to discuss the things that will allow you to be vulnerable and really get to the root of your problems. Like you can do here. Like we have the capacity here at our office to be vulnerable and to speak about things that makes um that's having an effect in our lives. But at the library, it was hard to do that because it's so public and people are coming in and out.
Right. And fast forward today, 2026, you now have your own building,
Yes.
now have your own transportation to get the girls back and forth, and it helps. You see that you
Yes.
see all the work
Um,
that you put in, it worked.
Chris, I met with a few other leaders who run youth-led organizations, and prior to Katrina, like maybe before you were born, Chris, after school programs used to be a popular thing. Like children could stay after school, they could get snack and take them home from after school program and they would be good. But now that the whole idea of after school program is kind of gone, we got together and we were trying to hope that the city would still provide transportation. So like you're going to Carver. What if we had a city-run bus that would pick you up from Carver, would bring you to DBI, and then drop you back off like you would do with the regular school bus? It would save organizations like us money. We could use that money to hire more people and to pour back into the communities, but now we're left with the burden of trying to provide transportation for our users, and some organizations just don't have that.
Yeah, and it's not even that some organizations don't have that. Is they might have it, but is it a safe space for the kids? Is it reliable? Can the
Yeah,
kids trust it? Like, and this with DBI, I know that I'm safe every time that I step in the van. I know I'm gonna get to my destination. I know when I get there, I'm gonna have a mail for me. I know that it's reliable. I know that I can trust this organization. I know I can trust you. And
and like, when we talk about that, Chris, a lot of people don't understand that that's also why a lot of people in the community really don't care for me. Because when I tell them that my loyalty is for the girls that I serve and their caregivers first, that puts the partners and the people who wanna work with us, that puts them behind y'all because my loyalty is to y'all first. And, it's crazy how many adults truly are not there to support the benefit of the children. And, when I call people out on this shit, they don't like it.
a lot of adults, they 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 claim that they want to do what's best for their children, but all in reality, they want to do what's best for their image.
Yeah,
And if it make them look good, that if another person see them out in the community, helping their community or helping the youth in a certain way, they'll think, oh, this person is doing this person is doing that.
yep,
But behind the scenes, are you really checking on the kids? Are you really
yep,
making sure that they're fed every day?
yep.
Like,
And
adults take heed
go
to that.
ahead.
Adults don't take heed to that. And I feel like if you want us to do better, you have to show us better.
And I think that a lot of adults, um, they cannot take the truth from you. So it's hard for a child to speak their truth to an adult without the adult getting upset. And to be perfectly honest, I would much rather have a child tell me like, I would prefer a child to check me over an adult. I feel like if the child checks me, then it's coming from the heart. Because one way or the other, you're a child, you don't really care, and you just want to be heard. And I don't think adults make spaces for you to be heard. And I'm sorry, it's unfortunate y'all live in a world like that.
Yeah, I feel you on that, and I want to ask you, like, throughout all the years, throughout all the girls that you worked with in DBI, how do you make them feel so comfortable? How do you gain their trust, even though they can relate to you because your father is incarcerated? How can you make them trust you?
All of them, there's a few of them that I wasn't successful at. It's a few. But for the most part, bringing them into this space and giving them the autonomy to decide what works, they come back because they wanna see if their plan actually worked. So, like, when we bring the girls in and we ask them, "What do y'all think should be on this wall?" Or, "What do y'all think this space should be like?" Or, "What do y'all think programming should look like?" And the fact that they get to say what to really say what this program should look like, and they have control over what they learn, and they come back, "Oh, because I wanna see what it looks like now. I wanna see if this works." Y'all come back because you get to have an opinion and make a decision about something that you have control over. You have control over what you learn. So why can't you decide what that looks like? And the fact that we allow y'all the space and time to do that, that brings y'all back. And when you think about it, Chris, not a lot of adults believe that children can't decide what's right for them.
Right. So you said there's a couple girls who you couldn't gain their trust from. How challenging has that been? Has it been hard to work with them?
It wasn't hard to work with them. I think there were a lot of, like, outlying circumstances that was just preventing us from, like, truly bonding. And I think at the time too, like most caregivers, whatever they go through, the children feel it. And so I think at some point in time, the children are going through something. The caregivers, I'm sorry, are going through something, and the children are feeling it, and it's coming into the work, and the space is just following them too. So I've came across some girls who wanted to like DBI, but they needed to work and make more money. I've came across some girls who wanted to like DBI, but they needed to be in the streets doing whatever. And at the end of the day, I always feel like most girls go through a breakup period where they take a break from DBI and they come back. Like I always want girls to feel like when you in, you're in. And so if you take a break, take your break, but just come back when you feel like you need the support. Because every phase of life, you grow. And so most people may not appreciate DBI for what it is until they grow to a certain level.
Yes, I feel it. Um, I would like to ask you, speaking of challenges, besides the girls that you have worked with, I know you deal with a lot of political stuff. And I know you deal with a lot of stuff behind the scenes, dealing with adults. So how has the adults and people who are against you challenged you, and how has that made you to be the woman that you are today?
Um, so a lot of people like black girls until black girls speak out. And so when I do support girls and how they speak out, that's when I get threats, and the threats are, like, not physical harm, but, like, I've had people call me and say, "I'm raising these girls to be little aggressive bitches like me." Or I've had people call me and say, "If I don't pipe down, Imma lose my funding." It doesn't bother me, and I think there are some male-led organizations, and I don't think they understand the capacity of which Black women leaders get maybe 2 or 3% of funding, like, globally, but male-led organizations get a much higher percentage of funding, and so I feel like there are certain organizations in the city where we could work well together if we work together, but we can't work together because the respect isn't there, and so people will look at me and will talk about me, but when they see me in person, "Hey, Dom." So, I don't know, but that is also why I stay in my office on the boulevard. I don't have time for, a lot of foolishness because, Chris, a lot believe it or not, there are a lot of organizations that are claiming to do the same work that we're doing. You don't know about them, you don't hear about them, but they get millions of dollars.
And it's like, well, I'm doing this too.
Yep, and it's unfortunate too because while we sitting here struggling, they're sitting there on millions.
So being like being like being in New Orleans and dealing with different obstacles every day, you have to deal with a lot of different personalities when you're talking to these girls, and enough girls, some of them they trust you enough to tell you their story and things that they're going through. And how do you deal with that and say, you know what, let me do this. Let me fix this. But now you have to go home and you have a family on your own and you have to deal with your own kids. Now you gotta think about your kids and you have to think about the kids that you're working with. How does that all fit in one space?
So work-life balance is hard, and especially when you walk into DBI and there's a fight, like, that's gonna take a lot out of me. But I also go to therapy. Therapy helps me to create ways to start my morning, like, every morning when you come in here, you see me sweaty because 'cause I'm going to the gym. Working out helps me regulate my emotions so that I can have the capacity to deal with the girls in my program and go home and talk to Justice Jamar and love on Carly and talk to Kingston from college. Therapy helps, but also when I need to take a break and when I do step away, it's a text message. It's easy for me to text y'all and say, "Hey, I'm not gonna have my phone," and y'all respect that. Because at the end of the day, I think y'all do know and understand that if Dom not whole, then we can't be whole. So the relationship works both ways, just like y'all need me, like I need y'all. Like my dad is still in jail. I need y'all just as much as y'all need me.
Right. So what are the conversations that you have with your children when they come to you and they ask you about certain stuff like jail or stuff that's going on in the streets? How do those conversations look?
You say my children, so you talking about my personal children or you talking about DBI?
Your personal children.
So Justice and Jamar, the twins are 6. Jamar doesn't really talk about it, but Justice will tell you, um can I go see grandpa? I wanna go visit papa. I wanna go to papa house." And so she thinks that the visitation room is papa's house, and all of those people that are in the visitation room are papa's roommates. And she doesn't understand the difference between jail and prison, but, like, I caught her playing Roblox, whatever it is, and Roblox had a game where one of the person was one of the players was like, "I'm gonna put you in jail." And so, yeah, I cut that off ASAP, and then we had a conversation about it. Carly, I think Carly is pretty much over DBI. Every time y'all call the phone, she just walks off. She's tired of it. She has said many a times, "Mama, I wish you could just go write a book and just sit down." Kingston doesn't mind. Kingston will send me a text message saying, "Go be great." But, Kingston is used to the limelight and all of that stuff. Carly did tell me that one day she was at volleyball practice and one of the girls asked her, "Is your mom like famous or something? Because I seen her somewhere." And Carly was like, "Yeah, I don't know if I would say famous, but she travels around and she talks and she speaks and people pay her to do it." And the girl said, "Girl, that is literally what celebrities do." I said, "But baby, your mama not a celebrity, so I get." But that's about it. So I think the only person that really understands it right now, is Kingston, and Carly, she's just good. As long as she got volleyball, she's good.
So when the girls come through your program and it's time for them to head out, what do you what do you hope that they learned the whole time they was working with you and doing all the stuff they was doing? What do you hope that they learn? What do you want them to take from Daughters Beyond Incarceration?
Um, when a girl walks into my office, I want her to feel seen. I want her to feel heard. By the time she leaves, I want her to understand that incarceration is not embarrassment. You are not your parents' mistakes. And I want them to be able to identify the systems that controls or impact their lives and how those impacts look, whether if it's a negative or a positive impact. But I want you to understand the education system, the criminal justice system, legislative process, and know how that system is impacting your life.
Yeah, like how the system impacting your life, and if you were ever to get caught up in something that basically you didn't do, and know what are your rights, what can the law use against you and what can they not use against you. Are you are you being detained and you
Detained. Yeah.
detained, like, what how does that work?
So remember when we went through the entire like criminal justice process and you learned about what arrest looks like from sentencing to I'm sorry, from arrest to sentencing. And so what you also there's like a part of it where you have to understand what happens with Chris as a black girl is going to be totally different from the same situation, and it's going to be totally different to what happens to a white girl. Same age, same incident, but it's going to be two different issues. And so we talked about in addition to the arrest and sentencing, Chris, we also talked about what trial looks like and what could possibly happen at trial. And so those are the things that I want y'all to take away when you leave DBI. It's not okay, let me go be an attorney, but if you do, that's good. But also, I know what it's like when my life is not being when I'm not being treated fairly. And so the recognition of unfair treatment and systemic issues, that's what I want you all to be able to take away. And I want you all to take away the steps to advocate for yourself so that you can be treated fairly.
Yes, and I just was tuning in on this Carmelo Anthony case, and how I feel is if the I don't know his name, but if the white boy that he killed because he was defending himself, if he was still alive, would he still be getting charged? What would his charges look like? Would he go to jail? What would
Like
that
probably not. Like that I like I have black sons. And to think that there's a period of time when little black boys go from being oh so cute to oh I'm so afraid of him. It's crazy because if the white boy was alive, I don't think he would have been charged. If the roles were reversed and the jury was still the same, yeah, I don't know if it would I don't know if it would work.
And it's too many cases going on like that these days. It's too many black boys being sentenced
Wrongly
to
convicted and
wrongly convicted.
and so when we think about that, Chris, like you got to think about too, like you're a 17-year-old high school student in New Orleans. Um, what happens when you see this? Like, what happens when you see girls in your community going missing? Like right now, I think I've seen this, and today's just Wednesday. I've seen at least 5 different girls between the ages of 13 and 17 missing. Like all of that is something that's alarming. In New Orleans, there's no solution for it. Like
Yes,
we don't have a pathway for parents to go or support what support looks like when a child goes missing.
yeah, I feel as if there are a lot of girls going missing, but there are a lot of girls running away from home. And a
Yeah,
lot of problems start in the home. And a lot of problems start with the parents because they had problems when they were children, and they still have the trauma from the trauma that their parents gave them, and they're passing that on to their daughters and their sons, and they're not showing their children the right way. They only showing their children the way that they was taught, which is not right. I feel as if we want a better community, we have to change ourselves. Nothing is
yeah,
going to change. Our children are going to keep running away from home. They're gonna keep going missing because they don't know right. They don't feel like they have anyone to go to and talk to who gonna listen to them and and not gonna judge them.
you're right. And it is unfortunate that, this is the world that we live in, one that allows people to feel shame about wanting support, mental support. So because they want mental health, but they feel embarrassed about it if they get it, and society makes it feel like it's a bad thing for you to access mental health that's maybe awarded to you. And then a lot of our parents, Chris, like we're Katrina parents. Like we're the parents who were teenagers or early adults during Hurricane Katrina, and we watched what everything that we love just wash away, and people that we grew up with, we watched them die. And then we had to deal with COVID. And now you want us to be parents? Like you want us to be able to successfully raise children in the midst of COVID, in the midst of Katrina, and even the crack epidemic. Like right now, the world is putting so much emphasis on opioid, but we grew up in a crack epidemic, and nobody put systems in place to support us. And so when our children are terrorizing the community, it's like you ain't helping.
And then it's a new generation coming up where in this generation a lot of teens are getting pregnant. It's a new teen pregnant every day. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying it's not right.
And so
Now,
what do you feel like, one, when we talk about teen pregnancy, we got to talk about what's happening at the legislature where they banned abortion.
right. Yeah, I believe a lot of young ladies wouldn't be pregnant if abortion was still available. But I don't know, cause even when abortion was available, the price was high and it was
Yeah. Yep.
unaffordable.
It wasn't
So
affordable. Yep. And
now that
even
it's away, it brought even more criticism on our community because now you look at it and it's 17-year-olds getting pregnant, and when the child gets older, who who's to say that they won't get pregnant at 17?
right. And I think as a parent of four, the one thing that I have had to change and adjust was my level of empathy that I have for my children, and understanding that each one of my children are growing up in a different day and time, and it's totally different from what I was growing up in. So whatever Kingston is experiencing is going to be different from what Carly is experiencing, and it's gonna be different from what the twins are experiencing. So my level of empathy has to change for each generation of children that I have. And parents got to understand that each child that you have, you can't parent them the same. You got to parent them differently. But as parents, we also have to grow. But some adults are not okay with growth because growth is hard. And when you're growing, you get to an uncomfortable point in your life and you have to change. It forces you to change.
You have to change. It's not okay to stay the same. Like, I know adults who have children and single mothers. I know they go through a lot, but I feel as in some point in time you have to push what you're going through to the side because you have a child to look after, and that causes neglect, worrying about your own problems and not seeing the problems that your child have is coming from you. It's like that's neglecting your child, because I understand a woman, us women, we go through a lot of things, but when you bring a child into this world, it's no longer about you, it's
It's
about
about
the
the child.
child. and
Yeah.
and now it's children raising children, and the children have not even been raised right, so how they gonna go raise another child? And it's like, even if it's okay to get pregnant at 17, it's not okay to kick your daughter out at 17 just because she had a child.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not okay to neglect your child for having another child
Yep.
at a young age.
And then there's no place for that child and her baby to go. So now you're also creating home. You're adding to the homeless or the unhoused situation here in our community, and it forces that child to not have the support that she needs. But also now her baby is going to be struggling. So what do you say to your friends and your peers that are pregnant and going through situations that can be alarming like that? Like, how do you support each other?
I have a lot of friends who have children, young babies. So to them, and a lot of them, I know that their moms are not really involved. I would say I wouldn't know, but I know it's some more that they can do. I know that they behave in this way because their mom doesn't care about them. So
Yeah.
I feel as if you can have a child at 17 and you decide to keep it and you decide to raise it, do the best you can. People are going to say, oh, you fast, oh, you had a baby, you got a baby, all this. It doesn't matter as long as you taking care of your child and making sure she okay. It doesn't matter what anybody else say. Life gonna be hard, but once you do something, it's no going back. You now have that responsibility on you. You can't go back and fix it. So just do what you have to do in life.
And I think that people don't understand the options that they do have once you do get pregnant and you have the baby, because you can also give the baby up for adoption. I know that may not be common in our community, but at the end of the day, if you know you don't have the financial capacity or the mental capacity to support a child, give it up for adoption. Because I think that is the one is responsible. It's frowned upon a lot, and a lot of people don't agree with it. But I think having the courage to say, "Hey, I'm not mentally stable to take care of this child. I need to give it up for adoption." I think that's powerful.
And you know what I see a lot of these days? I see a lot of teens having children, and not even teens, I would say even adults have kids and they decide to leave their kids with their parents, with their mother.
Mm,
They decide to leave their kids with their mother,
with
or
the grandmothers.
I'm about to go bring you by your grandmother. And like I stayed with my grandma my whole life.
Yeah.
And my mama was around to do the things she was supposed to do, what she was supposed to do. She was supposed to take care of me. She was supposed to make sure I had a roof over my head. I was fed. But as far as being there for me emotionally and asking me about my feelings, she was not there because she left me with my grandmother. My grandma, she got me up for school every day. She made sure I was straight when I walked out the door. My mama didn't do those things. So that had me looking at my mom like, what was the point of having me if you was just gonna keep me with my grandma my whole life? And then when she decided to come back in my life and want to talk to me and be available for me emotionally, it was already too late.
But I think when we think about when we think about children and the way they're being treated right now, like when we had this conversation, think about what their parent or how they were raised. And like it's a generational cycle that, you gotta change and you gotta make the stop. Like we're thankful that you had the support that you need. But when you think about it like generationally, Chris, all of the cycles that are negative that are going through families, like we need to create a point where that cycle stops. So let me ask you this, Chris. When you think about how your life is, the trajectory of your life is going right now, and you think about what you want it to be, how do you think you need to, what do you think you need to do to make changes so that what you're going through right now doesn't happen in the future?
The first change I think I need to do is let go of my trauma. I need
Yes.
to let go of my trauma so when I do grow up and it is time for me to have kids, I don't be worrying so much to not make the choices that my mom did. So I don't have to say, oh, so I don't have to catch myself doing something that my mother did. I want to let go of my trauma so I can be there for my children. Just just be stable in life and know that when I grow up, I don't have to worry or stress about my future.
And so you know what that means? What you just said is you want to grow up and be happy. And that's it. Children deserve happiness. And when we think about it, not just as children, but just as people, people deserve to be happy, right? Because everything you named is a part of happiness. When you're happy, you're responsible, you you pay attention, you support. And so I think when you are focusing on how to navigate the systems that control your life and how to reach your goals, be responsible, but also be happy. And happiness isn't just, oh, I'm going to the club or I'm going to do this. Happiness is a mindset that you wake up and you decide to have every day. Because happiness isn't an action. Like, I mean, happiness isn't just a word, it's an action word. And so when you're happy, you move different. And that happiness exudes to the people around you.
When you're happy, you're free.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
So thank you for joining us today on DBI Unfiltered and Unbothered. We had a nice conversation. I'm pretty sure we discussed a lot of topics.
We did, Chris. We did. I
And
didn't think you were gonna get that deep, but you went with it.
I didn't think I was gonna get that deep too, but when I start talking, my feelings just come out.
And I'm here for it.
So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for trusting me with this conversation. I appreciate you, Chris.
Ms. Dominique, thank you for this conversation, for trusting me with it, and for building a place where girls like me are allowed to go this deep. She said something today that I am still sitting with. Happiness is not just a word, it is a mindset you wake up and decide to have every day. And when you are happy, you move different. I want to move different. That is why I am here. That is why DBI exists. If this episode hit you the way it hit me, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to listen on Spotify so you never miss a conversation. And if you want to support the work that make this possible, visit dbinola.org. I am Chrislyn Williams. Thank you for listening to DBI Unfiltered and Unbothered. See you next month.